Welcome to COB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan and
I know marketers are supposed to be in the moment with moment marketing. You spoke about IPL. And what's with politics now?
See, I think I was actually looking at events with major spends. Last time we spoke about IPL and Super Bowl.
Right.
If you honestly look at elections separately, it's an event that, we will end up spending about 1.35 lakh crores in India. And just to give a sense of what that means, this is almost 3 times the GDP of Bangladesh.
And this is only the declared value, right?
No, so this is all
Estimated.
accounts.
Okay.
So this takes into account some amount of work done to put into place the election machinery, all your EVMs, etc.
Mm-hmm.
This has also taken into account the declared electoral bonds, right? Everything. So by and large, it covers mostly. It should cover 80%, 90% of what will get spent.
Wow.
Now, this is far more than any other media event. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I like the context of elections because with the caste-based politics, religion-based, language-based, it's kind of very close to how marketers segment consumers. So I kind of get the context of why this should be the biggest marketing event of the year. But in your language, how would you say STP in marketing works in this election campaign?
Okay, so very simply, we all know that politicians, their sole purpose of, going around in political circles is to get significant amount of following behind them.
Right.
And that requires them to, sharply knowing their consumers, segmenting them, targeting them by whichever means possible. Sometimes we literally become targets. And then they do all sorts of stuff to position themselves as a favorable choice over everybody else that is there in the fray, right? So when I started thinking about it, it almost seemed like a perfect case study of marketing being done at a large level, where you have large organizations trying to market themselves to consumers at large, and then within those organizations there are smaller brands that are trying to market to localized consumers.
Regional brands.
So therefore, national branding, regional branding, ATL, BTL. So therefore, it seemed like a fairly interesting mix and, a perfect case study to study.
Perfect. So if ATL and BTL, so I'm sure there's more to influencer marketing and tapping into the emotional agenda.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Now, if politics is about marketing, what can political parties learn from the marketing guys?
There are quite a few things actually, if we think about it, and let's do this. Let's analyze politics from that point of view. So one of the first things that people say, we all speak about 4 P's of marketing, right? When all of us would have read Kotler. Now, in these 4 P's of marketing, the most important P is supposed to be product. Everything else then follows.
Right.
And in politics also, this holds true. The only difference is the product actually is your work on the ground. And
you're talking about the work.
Yeah, your work on the ground.
I thought the person would be the product.
No. I think the person is made up of 2 aspects. The work that you do on the ground and the core pronouncements that you keep making over and over again.
Got it.
Yeah, that's the product.
Got it.
So regardless of whichever party you belong to, whatever is the party ideology, etc., finally the local guys will connect with what you do and what you say.
Right.
And therefore that becomes the product. So therefore goes without saying that the product has to be good enough and no amount of great marketing or any kind of marketing antics can rescue you if your product is bad.
You, as a politician, you need to demonstrate work on ground.
Yeah.
Got it.
So no amount of riding the wave, incumbency, etc. Nothing else can save your career if the work is not good. So therefore, focus on the product. That's the first, I think, learning from a marketing point of view.
Okay.
Yeah. Second part, and Sharan, this we have done in the past, where we said that demographic segmentation versus attitudinal
Yes,
segmentation.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I think that is fairly relevant in politics also.
Mm-hmm.
In politics, I have seen, and I think, say about 10 years back, 10, 12 years back, we started seeing, political panditry or political uh, consultation as a great career.
Hmm.
Yeah, with
Yes.
Prashant Kishore and everybody else
IPAC
coming
and
into
stuff,
the
yeah.
fray. Yeah. So, and you could see whenever you hear them talk, in their eyes, it is all about micro segmentation,
Right.
right? And they will go, into caste, subcaste, areas, and then into beliefs,
Hmm.
right? So these are these guys who stay on this belt, they believe in this, and therefore this is what has to be done, etc.
Right.
So politics actually is a masterclass in micro segmentation and attitudinal segmentation. And therefore you will find that the local politicians would know what kind of event, what kind of temple, what kind of mosque, what kind of organization would appeal to these guys, and all of that comes from fair amount of micro segmentation.
Right.
So if politicians have to approach this, I think the days of looking at large demographics with
Lower.
large caste census, etc., are over. They have to get into micro segments and talk about each micro segment and their needs and therefore their ability to target them.
Okay. So I have a question here.
Mm-hmm.
When an entrepreneur starts out,
Mm-hmm.
their brand identity is what they're most proud of, and that's what they start getting people to recognize them with.
Mm-hmm.
Does the election symbol work the same way for the political parties?
I think I'm not too sure whether it frankly plays as much role,
Mm-hmm.
because there are quite a few other things which are obviously visible and available to the person. Now,
Okay.
for a startup entrepreneur, your product is there on the shelf and that is being seen by the consumer.
Right.
Yeah. And that product, therefore, has to demonstrate everything you stand for.
Hmm.
In the case of a politician, you are the product.
Right.
Yeah. Or what you say or what work you have done, that's the product.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure whether the symbol becomes so important, but all of these small things. So you will see them putting up plaques everywhere that this was done during the course of this MLA.
It's more
This was done.
demonstrating the work, which again goes back to emphasize the product that you're talking about.
Correct. So if you're roaming around in your locality, if you see this park has been built by this guy by using MP lad funds, etc., and this bench has been built, this has been built, so you will get an imagery. Okay, this guy seems to have done quite a bit,
Got it.
right?
Okay.
So I think that becomes the precursor of their equity or imagery.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Now, then again, and Sharon, we have spoken about this earlier,
Hmm.
that the path to growing a brand is goes through consistency, consistently doing same things over and over again.
Right.
And so therefore path to equity, path to branding goes via saliency and you know uh, trying to harness and buttress one particular imagery.
Hmm.
Right. So salience and imagery become very, very critical.
Right.
Right. So therefore, as a politician, if you think about it, you know, in the manner a marketer thinks about it, you will always think about two things. You will say, okay, what are one or two imagery for each micro segment that I want to be known for,
Hmm.
right? And number two, to make sure that this is the imagery I'm known for, what could be my marquee event to create that imagery, and what could be the other events to uh, make this imagery salient amongst the TG.
Okay.
Right? For example, if you want to be known as somebody who goes out of your way to help,
Hmm.
now, so therefore, you will be presented with multiple occasions where you will be able to do this along with your political workers. You will go out of your way to help people,
Right.
right? And then you will find sufficient number of salience driving occasions where this achievement of yours, this effort of yours will get recounted
Right.
by your people or the people who are impacted by it.
Right. So you have the master campaign,
Yeah,
and then you have the support campaign, which keep reinforcing the message and the positioning that you've taken in your master campaign.
correct.
Got it. Okay.
Correct. So therefore, salience and imagery. So you know what imagery you want to drive, and that imagery could be, different for each micro segment. The better you know your TG, you will be able to do a better job at it.
Right.
Right. Uh, and it becomes very critical that you're not somebody who is waking up just before elections,
Hmm.
and that's the trick to salience, right?
I can think of quite a few people who are doing that in these elections.
Yeah. So you will always find that quite a few of them wake up just before election.
Hmm.
So I think the whole we have reiterated this over and over in the past, that difference in branding and marketing, and we said branding is all about a bundle of promises that your product and service makes to the consumer,
Right.
and it only gets made by the consistency with which you keep delivering it,
Absolutely.
and consistency is the key.
Hmm.
So therefore, if you talk about this all through the year, if you are able to find occasions to demonstrate it and sufficient occasions to talk about it, then what you have done is that you have given consistency.
Absolutely. I think applying it to brands, there are brands that participate in these retail sales events, the big sale events that happen, and they get a big fill up in volume.
Mm.
But the next year, they do nothing and they wait for this event again to get a sales uplift.
Mm.
Now, what this is doing is that it will give you a bit of an uplift, will never give you a improvement in share because everybody is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And unless you be consistent year round, this event will not add to the long-term value of your business.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much in the case with politicians too.
Correct. So we've spoken about salience quite a bit.
Right.
Let's speak about imagery also.
Hmm.
Now, again, if you are a politician, you're trying to learn from a marketer.
Hmm.
So there is ATL and then there is BTL, right? ATL is what you say, what your party says,
Hmm.
and something that gets broadcasted to everybody.
Media, the content that goes out.
Correct.
Okay.
And BTL is what you do on the ground.
Hmm.
Right? What is something that people see you actually do,
Hmm.
or what do people on the ground say about you, not about your party or what your ideology or philosophy, etc.
Because you got to win that constituency.
Correct.
Hmm.
So therefore, ATL and BTL both are become a mix in driving your imagery. Right? Now, very interestingly, the same thing flows for regional brands versus national brands.
Right.
The more targeted your constituency is, the higher the importance of BTL becomes. Right? So therefore, and we keep talking about a lot of this, that before elections, quite a lot of people jump ship
Hmm.
from one party to the other. Right? And then we, for some of them, we say these guys are turncoats. Every year or every second election, they jump from one party to the other. Ayaram, Gayaram, or whatever you call them.
Right.
Now, the point is that a lot of them keep winning because of the BTL that they do.
Because they got the strength in the local constituency. The local people are linked to them and not necessarily to the larger party.
Correct. And all they are doing is that they are optimizing for ATL when they're changing the party.
Yeah, that's a beautiful analogy, actually.
So you don't want the ATL to work against you.
Right.
And if they find that my BTL is solid, but my ATL is going to work against me, let me choose a different ATL.
Wow. That's brilliant.
Yeah. It is similar to sometimes MNCs acquiring regional brands.
Hmm.
Right now, most of the MNCs would realize that the regional brand is a brand because of some reason.
Right.
So while they will try to integrate it for that constituency, for that state, for that region, they will leave the brand untouched,
Mhm.
and they will make sure that the brand promise is delivered.
Right.
Yeah. And if nothing else, it is strengthened. Right. So I think that's how politicians also have to think about it. So the large political parties are mother brands or endorsement brands.
Right.
And then each one of the guys is a brand of their own,
Mhm.
brand or sub brand. The last aspect that I want to talk about, right, which is about your favorite topic, actually, Sharan, which is brand marketing versus performance marketing,
Okay.
right? And in fact, yesterday or day before yesterday, um, a couple of days back, I think, I read this article that Mr. Ambi Parameshwaram has also written
Mhm.
about same thing, that brand marketing versus performance marketing,
Right.
and which way is it going, and is there any relevance for brand marketing anymore, right? And it also kind of veers towards the same thing, that we need a balance of both, right? So in politics, how does this pan out, right?
Right.
So in my mind, everything that you do that has an impact on your imagery, yeah, or your salience at least,
Hmm.
is brand marketing. So all your ATL, BTL, etc.
Right.
A lot of the time, uh, politicians or some unscrupulous elements around them try to do performance marketing by distributing cash or liquor,
Mhm.
etc. Right, which is about subsidizing votes
Right.
for them. Now, too often we spoke about this fallacy of performance marketing, where we talk about attribution, right? So too often people who were going to vote for you vote because they were anyways going to vote, so their
Right.
vote gets subsidized, you have anyways spent on them.
Right.
And people who are not going to vote for you, quite often they don't vote for you.
Right.
So therefore there's this fallacy of attribution, that
Hmm.
because I distributed this, I got these many votes, but the fact is that most of those votes were anyways going to come towards you, right? So
Right.
therefore, uh, in my head, again, because we spoke about consistency, we spoke about year round salience, we spoke about year round work, uh, ATL, BTL, and therefore brand marketing becomes significantly more critical, right?
Absolutely.
However, there might be a role for performance marketing if done the right way,
Hmm.
right?
Distributing booth numbers, tickets, getting people to come to the booth to vote. That part absolutely works. Right.
And you remember we spoke about this funnel,
Hmm.
right? At top of the funnel, when you're bringing people into the top of the funnel, a lot of the brand marketing is needed.
Right.
When people have reached into your funnel and now they are about to make that decision, that is where performance marketing kicks in.
Right.
We gave this example of Apple, for example. They
Yes.
advertise all their features, etc., in their advertising. And in print, they only spoke about discount and net landed price of their product, which is
Affordability.
otherwise, very different from how you think about Apple, right?
Right.
But they're clear about which part of the funnel this particular element is targeting.
Right.
Similarly, a lot of the work that you do through the year becomes top of the funnel
Hmm.
for voters.
Right.
Now, when voters are getting ready to vote, and they are about to make that decision. So that is where you have to deploy the right kind of performance marketing. One is aiding them to reach to the right place, giving them their voter slips, etc.
Right.
If you must, then you deploy things like, if you think that voters in this particular constituency of mine are confused between me and some other competitor, so then you must target specific messages amongst them. Why should they vote for you over and above the competitor that they are considering?
Right.
That is performance marketing,
Right.
right? Striking it there. So therefore, understanding which part of your voter base is in which part of the funnel, and therefore how do you turn them in your favor, becomes a part of performance marketing. And that is something that marketers would be proud of.
That's a beautiful line to close with, Sudeep. And I hope, given how unscrupulously you mentioned some elements here, the marketers in India also choose only to pick up the right things and, in fact, get the politicians to learn more marketing than the other way around.
Thank you for listening to COB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's COBBCAST.net.